Hey guys, welcome back to another movie review. This one's really special for me. It was one of my most anticipated films of last year, obviously due to who it's being directed by. Any fans of mine know that I'm a huge Tim Burton fan, so I was really looking forward to Big Eyes coming out this year. So Big Eyes was directed and produced by Tim Burton, and it was written by Scott Alexander and Larry Karaszewski. I think that's how you pronounce the name. And they're the two writers who wrote Tim Burton's Ed Wood back in 1994. And both films are based on a true story. So Big Eyes follows the true story of Margaret Keane, who during the 1950s and 60s created these Big Eyes paintings, who were pretty much just paintings of big-eyed children. And they really took it off in the early 60s, but it was due to her husband, Walter Keane, who she married, and he began to, after a while, take credit for her work because he believed that people of that era wouldn't buy artwork if it was painted by a woman. So he took the credit for it, and she kind of let him at first because she was a really shy, introverted type person, and they were making a lot of money, so she kind of just went with it for a while. So the film's set in 1960s San Francisco, and the film looks fantastic, as you've come to expect with most Tim Burton films these days. He really knows how to use his colour palettes in his films. All of his films actually look like a piece of art, so this film kind of really suited his style. It was very colourful, very vivid, the colours just popped everywhere, and I think it's going to look great on Blu-ray when it comes out. The performances were outstanding, especially Amy Adams in the leading role. And it was a very different role for Amy Adams because you're used to seeing her as a confident, strong character, whereas in this film she's really quite shy and introverted. So I think it's a great performance though if an actor can kind of do that, both kind of levels of that acting. Christoph Waltz played the husband, Walter Keane, and he's always been one of my favourite actors, so I was really looking forward to his performance. And I think he overacts a little bit in this film. He's quite comedic and cartoony in a few of the scenes, but I still think he really was a good choice for the character in the film. So the film mainly focused on those two characters, though you do have other characters played by Huston, Kyrsten, Ritter, Jason Schwartzman and Terence Stamp, who are all great actors, but they don't really get much screen time in this film because, as I said, it mainly focuses on the two main characters as well as Margaret's daughter in the film as well, and she's quite good as well. So as the film progresses, it's quite fast paced, and we see she gets married to Walter fairly early on. He kind of takes credit for her artwork and she goes along with it, and they start to make lots of money. It's kind of like this mini empire that they've started to build up. They buy a new house which is quite large with a pool and everything, so she kind of becomes locked away in the attic of the house just painting these portraits while he's out there selling them. And the whole film is based over, I think, a 10-year period, and it ends in a courtroom case in Hawaii, I think, where the two have to end up in a paint-off competition to see who actually was the painter. And so that's quite an interesting scene, the courtroom case. It's quite funny, and it's interesting how it's based on a true story because they apparently had to tone down this scene and a lot of the scenes in the film because of how unrealistic they are, but it's crazy because a lot of true story films seem unrealistic in that way, but they're really quite interesting. Now Big Eyes was quite a different film to make for Tim Burton. He's mainly recently made a lot of big fantasy films, big budget movies, and this is a much smaller budget film. Lots of different actors as well. Tim Burton usually works with Johnny Depp and Helena Bonham Carter, but there's no recent collaborators in this film who he's worked with before, other than obviously you've got Danny Elfman doing the music, and it's quite a nice score as well. It's not as big and sweeping and loud as his previous films he's done with Tim Burton. And there's not really any visual effects in the film either, which is interesting for a recent Tim Burton film. So it's good to see him kind of come back to that old style that he had from the late 80s and early 90s in his films, where he kind of relied more on practical effects and the look of the set and more imagination put into it rather than just relying on a bit of CGI. Now while I really enjoyed the film, I didn't love it. I do like a lot of Tim Burton's fantasy films of recent years, and I feel that this just lacked a little bit of his look and tone and style, but I guess that's just because it's a true story and it's completely different to anything he's really done in recent years, but I still really enjoyed it for what it was, and it's definitely one of my favourite films of this past year. So in my opinion, Big Eyes was really enjoyable. It seemed to go by really quick. There was no parts where it really dragged or anything like that. The performances were great, it looked great, Danny Elfman's score was really good. Tim Burton's directional style definitely was fantastic in this movie, and I can't wait to see what he comes out with next. So I'm going to give Big Eyes a very high B+. It's almost in the A category for me, but not quite. So thanks guys for watching my quick review for Tim Burton's new film Big Eyes. Check it out if you haven't seen it yet. It's definitely worth a watch. Great performances and everything, like I said. Please subscribe to my channel and check out some of my previous videos, and I'll see you later. Bye.